example. And what I do love about the composition of this committee, Dr. Mwanko, for example, when it came to the Economic Commission for Africa, I remember within the Kufuor period, he's one of the people I had great interactions with when he came to Ghana. The UN has had a stint with the World Bank and all that. So he brings vast level of experience. Now, they are supposed to put together this national economic dialogue. What that implies is that the instrumentality of Dr. Mwanko, Dr. Ishmael Yamson, Professor Gachi, as well as Mr. Samara, who is a great entrepreneur in his own right, was very instrumental in us having the MPS deal, and MPS is now one of the foremost ports in Africa, if not the world. You'll find that they bring their expertise on board and the network, so then they can convince all sides of the political divide, those who will be coming from our multilateral partners, our donor partners, the diplomatic corps, the media, and all those who matter from the capital markets, wherever you want them. So they will sit like, what was done within the century period. So because the economy is not good, junk status, as we say. So please make sure you share the stream. We're going to have some great conversation. Dr. Bokpin, with the University of Ghana Business School, is going to join us this morning. Wanda Madilo also will be joining us. Nana Yausapon will be joining us. We'll have some great interactions. Nelson Akotia, good morning to you. Make sure you share the link, share the stream. Let's have some great interaction. Ni Jase Nani, I wish you all the best for the day as well. Please share the stream. Solivans Kinsley also has joined us. Inshiraba Ofori, Akasokri Joseph, great guy. Manini Mani, and all those who have joined us this morning. But this is what it implies. And we're going to get to what others have been saying about this in the course of the discussion by way of insights, if we have them. And you're going to have some great discussions. Now, I have Wanda Madilo. Wanda Madilo, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And, he's also an entrepreneur, politician as well. So he's going to help us with some discussions this morning. Nana Yausapon will be joining us. Dr. Godfrey Bokpin, University of Ghana Business School, also will be joining us on the stream. A professor, let me not reduce his academic prowess and position. Edward Soka is also watching live from Cape Coast. Please make sure you share the stream. So let's have this going on. Shaddai Adote, Onukpa Ofanete. But this is a great initiative, is that not it?
Yeah, it underscores the drive with which the president wants to run this country in terms of the economy, in terms of development, in terms of bringing us back to that pedestal that allows Ghana to grow, exponentially as quickly as possible. And so I think it's a great initiative. If you look at the people in that makes up that dialogue committee, you will observe that, carefully chosen. You have people who are economists, you have people who are in the industry, you have people who are somewhat of a planner, position and all that. So on top of my mind, it brings to bear a certain understanding of our economic challenges. It also helps us to bring to bear, the diverse human resource and capital we have in Ghana in terms of the economy and restructuring. And so this is one of the promises that the president made during the campaign period to put together the National Economic Dialogue.
Okay. We'll come to the substantive issues. Phil Kesa is also watching us this morning. Thank you very much, Phil Kesel. Thank you. Sharif Baba as well. Please make sure you share the stream. Ibnil Nat, I wish you all the best for the day. Share the stream. Daniel Brasfield, wishing you all the best. Nuruddin Aziz, Indabugri Akorogo Ahmed. Please share the stream. Let's have some great conversation. But these are the objective of why they are doing this. So when we have everybody seated, it is to communicate the current state of Ghana's economy. It's not only to communicate the current state, but to be truthful about it to the stakeholders. We've been told about, the IMF, the various rating agencies will come and tell us this is where we are, but we are aggregating everybody together, stakeholders, labor, unions, etc. develop a homegrown fiscal consolidation program to guide the national budget. The budget, according to the finance minister, Dr. Kesiel Atoforsen, should be in by or read by March. What does it mean? Also highlight key structural reforms and policy priorities essential for resetting the economy. You know, the fundamentals or the structures of our economy are terrible. And so we need to make sure that we're on a sound footing. And so the agenda is to make sure that we develop a comprehensive framework aligned with the objectives of the National Economic Dialogue. And the speakers and panelists coordination, they're going to identify. So these 4 individuals are going to identify, invite experts in economics, energy, and agriculture to participate as speakers and panelists. What we're going to do is to call one of the members, Professor John Gachi, if he's available, just to tell us so far what it means and what they are going to do, etc. What the steps they've taken so far, how they intend going about this as well. So Professor Gachi, if he's available this morning, will be speaking to us shortly, not as part of the main discussions. And then also they are going to look at where they are going to do this. So everybody will be on board. The venue will be very important. I should think on top of my head, if it's not Kempinski or the other hotel that's on the road, the one built by the Saudi investor, Mövenpick, so or the UPSA auditorium. So those are the 3 venues on top of my head. I'm not part of the committee, but so either it's Kempinski or the Mövenpick or the UPSA auditorium, one of those places, well organized, breakout sessions and all that. Session facilitation will be to organize and facilitate panel discussions, workshops, and breakout sessions. There you have it. Identify and invite moderators and rapporteurs. So we're going to have some of the best moderators. Could be anybody else. Alfredo Kanse, Bernard Avle, could be those who work with the World Bank or Imani. We could have any of them all come, and the CDD, you know, or the Institute of Economic Affairs, or ISE, or any of them from the economics department of the various universities we have, particularly University of Ghana, etc. Or we could have some of the main people who speak on the economy also come to facilitate this. Dr. Sam and Jonah, etc. will all be part of this. It's very important so that all of us tend to have this. Komla Mawena, what do you make of it? For those who have joined us on our stream, what do you make about the intent or to organize a national economic dialogue, you know? And then how do we make sure we get onto this? It's very, very, very important. Phil Kese is wondering why I said Mövenpick. Well, I know that that's how it's pronounced. Phil Kese. Okay, so at the end of the day, why is this important?
Well, to be fair, and to the good people of Ghana, you need to have a dialogue that is devoid of the usual politicking, you know, partisan politics. And so in order to achieve that, you need a platform to bring everybody on board, because not everybody who wishes this country well are only found in one political party, say the NDC. We cannot say that only the people in the NDC wish the government well. And so there are people in industry, business, in academia, in other political parties who would want to participate, or who ideally should be participating because of what you call patriotism, or love for Mother Ghana and love for country and all that. And so you needed to create that platform for them to meet. That's why it's a dialogue, and that's why it's open up to the general public, open up to academia, open up to those who are practitioners in the industry, and all that. And so it gives everybody the chance to have a holistic, approach to looking at our economy dispassionately. You will recall that if the NDC as a party in government now were to put out figures, some people will come doubting it, say it's politics and all that. And what we don't want to do is to, put color, political spin and color on the true state of our economy. And this must happen as quickly as possible before the first budget is read. And that budget eventually becomes the development plan for the country in the next 1 year. And so it's necessary, this is necessary to bring together all the minds, that are at play within the economic front, at play within industry, at play within academia, at play within the sectors, the various sectors of the economy, from local governance to finance to energy and to all the crises we have suffered for a while now. And so this is an initiative that is laudable. You will recall that when we were in government, I think in 2015, if I'm not mistaken, we have had this before under President same John Dramani Mahama before in Pediasi, and I'm wondering why you didn't mention Pediasi. I mean, all those places you mentioned cannot contain the numbers. They will not be able to have the breakout sessions that you are looking at. So Pediasi may likely be one of the various places to be considering and all that. And then once that is done and views are collated, figures are churned out, and we know the true state of the economy based on a dispassionate view, a view that is devoid of politics, then the government can now come out to really put out that 24-hour economy project and plan. And so indeed this is critical to our developments as a country. It's critical to the next stage of this country. We have had development partners complain about figures, they challenge some of the figures we turn out and all that. And so this will bring out the true state of the economy before March when the budget is ready.
Well, certainly. Well, we've also been joined by Nana Yasapo, one of the critical political stakeholders as well as analysts and entrepreneurs we have. It's plays critical roles in various sectors, but also is a political aid to Alan Kojo Chiramanting. You look at their great transformational plan, also means that when it comes to the stakeholders who are needed, they should be able to play instrumental roles. Good morning to you, Nani Alsapon. Welcome.
You're looking good. I like the yellow in your...
Thank you. Thank you. I even have listened too much. But why is it that every time you wear... but anyway, but why do we need this? How bad is the economy from not only a professional, but a layman's perspective?
I believe that first of all, good morning to you and good morning to HRH viewers. And when you have professors and doctors listening, you need to be cautious how you make your presentation. But Roland, you would know that the movement for change prior to the drafting of our great transformational plan held an economic summit, which was more or less a national economic dialogue, where we drew from far and near, both political and technocrats, people who had in-depth knowledge in our economy, to be able to guide us to have an economic document that has or contains a local content that took into consideration the economic situation, the people's orientation, and the kind of entrepreneurship skill that we have. And that is where you would see that indeed this economic document is of a nationalistic view. Most of the time you would notice that our men who manage our economy would go and study books from the Western land, and they come and they want to implement it here. I remember very well when we held our economic summit led by Alan Chiramanting. We had come out with a little over 150 practical economic policy prescriptions. Now, these prescriptions contained the local content. Roland, the way we have our Makola market is different from the markets you would have in London and in the United States. The way you would operate businesses in Ghana is very much different, in as much as they would all contain in a way certain characteristics that would inform the worldwide call. And so if John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency, has decided to put together a team to have a national economic dialogue. I think it's a good call. What is important is that it should be devoid of political interest. When I read the statement, what I didn't like was the part that spoke about the fact that it is going to set or expose the true state of the nation's economy. You are going to have an economic dialogue not to expose the state of the nation's economy, but rather to think about how to fix the economy. Everybody knows the state of our economy now. Everybody knows the extent to which the economy is more or less, for lack of a better expression, damaged. All right, but the economic dialogue should be focused or directed towards solution. It should be focused or directed towards drawing to us a framework that contains achievable, practical, achievable prescriptions. Not just because it is a dialogue or because it is led by a government. It should be one of the usual ones. And I think that the one we did at Movenpick, led by Honorable Alan Shumanton, the roadmap is still available, and they could still have it to help them guide, because
Fantastic.
it should be devoid of political interest. You see, the NDC led by John Dramani Mahama has an agenda. The agenda is the 24-hour economy. Now, the 24-hour economy has certain elements that needs to be upstanding before they are able to achieve. They need to be able to deal with the microeconomy. They need to be able to deal with our security. They need to be able to deal with our energy sector. They need to be able to deal even with a mindset change. How ready are we? You understand? Now, they should be able to deal with bringing certain solutions that would be investor attractive. They should be able to bring about policy prescriptions that would want to even boost local confidence and international confidence. It should not be just one of those events that we go to sit and go on a coffee break, have bites, and then we are done with. No, it should be focused. And so if they want everybody to come on board, I mean, the last one the NDC held, I know where they held, is it Saint-Chi or it was in Saint-Chi?
It was a small group.
The NPP actually rejected being part of it. Fortunately, when Alan had his a year or two ago, we had very senior technocrats, Dr. Kwachi and all of those likes, being part of the team that of facilitators that made presentations. I think that they should extend the invitation to every single meaning Ghanaian. They should not just focus on people who are book oriented, and this is critical.
Not theoretical.
Where we have
people.
gotten to, we are not looking for book solution. We are looking for practical solutions. They should look out for people who themselves have been involved in building businesses, captains of industry. The AGI, the Ghana, the Commerce, the Chamber of Commerce, the Makola Market Women, the spare parts dealers,
the various trade associations,
people
the unions
who are practically involved in economic activities. Senior bankers who have been there before, who have been in ups and downs, not just people because they are PhD holders. I'm sorry, I have to say this. Not just because they have gone through the books, have done their masters and holding PhDs and have professors, just because they hold those academic credentials, they come to sit and just talk. We need people who are practically oriented. Where we have got into Roland, and your book as a you understand? When you are hungry, everybody knows that you need to eat. You don't need a nutritionist to tell you that you have to eat. But if you do not know how to cook and your mother is not home, you will die. We need people who are practically oriented. And that should be the focus. And Roland, you see, this national dialogue, in my view, is going to open up the floodgates for us to be able to have a clear cut or draw in of various communication lines.
What are the floodgates?
We have been in a situation where we didn't have people listening to us. All right. There has been a time where even MPs came out to say that, listen, the economy is broke. Somebody who is leading the economy should be moved. And then it fell on deaf ears. And Ghanaians feel somehow liberated. And so the team that is being set up, the 7-member team led by Dr. Ishmael, am I right? Yamson, right? I mean, should be ready to receive a whole lot of letters and suggestions and ideas. They have a responsibility to be able to sieve it. They have a responsibility to be able to merge it. So they should not just limit the doors being opened to a one-side political color. No, we all live in Ghana. Nobody would want Ghana to be broke.
When you say one-side political color, what do you mean?
I mean, there are situations they set up committees and teams, and they'll only give attention to people they are familiar with or people of the same.
But this team is very bipartisan, all-encompassing. Dr. Ishmael Yamson.
We are advising them. We are advising them. You know, let's be real. I'm a realist. You understand? I'm a realist. Ideally, yes, it's a bipartisan. But being a realistic person, I would just want to channel this little advice that they should open their gaze to every single individual. It should not just be held in Accra, some corner somewhere at a conference center, or they shouldn't go very far so that some of us can attend. But this should be regional oriented. Roland, the way we do our economic activities in Greater Accra is very different from the way economic activities take place in the northern region. All right, the various economic activities that bring returns to people is different from the Ashanti region. It should be regionally centered. If possible, if they can go to all the 16 regions, they could divide the country, the 16 regions, into zones. And then people who are there and are involved in various economic activities can be involved in. Sometimes we sit in Accra and we think that these market men and women, these small traders, these enterprises, they do not matter. But for any economy to strive, for any economy to do well, you need these small enterprises to be very well activated. Go to South Africa. And that was why Alan Tremantin was preaching Enterprise Ghana, where we would have every small business being well formulated, being well registered and recognized, and that enterprise going through formal activities. Most of the times we go into our various markets and these enterprises are not even registered. I remember when Alan brought about this business resource centers, you know, when he was Minister for Trade, through the REP, Rural Enterprises Projects, he built 67 BRCs across various districts in this country. Now, their main aim was to be able to bring small and medium enterprises together, help formalize and computerize their activities so that they can easily have access to economic benefits and to financial benefits to be able to expand. And this economic dialogue cannot go on without our banking sector. It's very critical. Currently, as we speak, to get a loan for a business, you should be targeting in excess of 35 to 40% interest rate. Which business or which enterprise can do well with such a loan as capital or as an capital injection? We need to deal with almost all of these things. So there are certain indicators that if they sit behind a book, they will not know. They need people who are oriented, people who are involved practically to be able to.
Fantastic. So we'll go into the issues that need to be discussed sector by sector. We have Professor John Gachi. He's a regular contributor when it comes to all programs, whether it's business, everything finance, and then also the structure of the economy, etc. Currently, the Dean. the University of Cape Coast Business School. He's one of the leads on that panel to make sure that they organize the National Economic Dialogue. Good morning to you, Professor John Gachi. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm fine.
Okay, great. I know that in putting this together, because you are putting this together, you are the organizing committee, what are some of the key considerations you're making on the sectors that critically need to be looked at that will inform the stakeholders that will be brought together?
Well, I'll be able to speak in that capacity when the committee starts its meeting to have preliminary discussion as to how to approach its work. I will, however, be able to speak about the relevance of the committee and what impact it may have on the governance and the management of the economy going forward.
Okay. But I know that you can speak to why we are here today, why we have to do a national dialogue.
Exactly so.
Please go ahead on that.
Yeah, I think it strikes knowledge that it is not those we elected to manage the economy. For us, they are the one who holds everything that is will have positive impact on the economy. So it is important that from time to time you create a platform to get cross-fertilization of ideas from Ghanaians who otherwise will not have the opportunity to contribute to national dialogue and national development. So it's just a matter of creating opportunity for people to get a platform to discuss where we want to go and how we want to move so that we'll manage the economy in the collective benefit of all of us. And in that sense, you also create a sense of inclusiveness in the policy formulation and perhaps implementation of same, so that we know we have decided to follow this particular policy and to achieve a particular end. And that is bringing some kind of cohesion, trust, and confidence within the sectors and within the management of the economy itself. And that is very, very important, especially when we have traveled on a rugged trajectory for some time. It is important to bring people together. So it is not about trying to hide the difficulties that were inherited, but it's just to accept the difficulties that were inherited and how to surmount the difficulties and what we should do in the very short term, what we should do in the medium term, and what we should be doing in the long term. Bearing in mind that Ghana is not only for those of us here today, but Ghana should be put on a path that will be beneficial to the people of Ghana, that will be after us.
For you who tend to comment on the issues and do the research and do the literature review, how is the state of Ghana's economy?
I think the state of Ghana economy is not the best. If we look at the debt situation, the debt is still very high. We are still not out of debt burden that we were talking about some years back. Even though we are now out of default state, we are not sustainable in terms of debt. Our debt management efforts need a certain look. So that is a reality. We are not managing our debt to match with the assets that we create from the debt. Our inflation trajectory is not the best. The cost of living, especially in the country, is highly pronounced. Our production is not inclusive, and we are not maximizing our production, especially in agriculture. So our school system is not what we want it to be. We need to take a second look at how we want our school system to be. Ghanaians do not appreciate the fact that Form 1, Form 3 are going to vacate now before Form 2 are going to school. We want Ghanaians Form 1, Form 2, Form 3 to be in school and vacate at the same time, so that there will be some kind of stability in the curriculum and the timing and contact hours of our school system. We go to our health, the same thing. So our economy is not in the best of shape, and that is why collectively we want to come together, design and define the roadmap for execution.
Now, this will be done before the budget, or how is that it? Is that your own, you think, based on what should be done? Shouldn't it be done, convened before the budget?
I think that will be clear after we meet for the discussion. But remember, we are supposed to submit our report in 4 weeks. We are supposed to submit our report in 4 weeks, so that some of the issues can have their way into the budget.
Okay. All right. On top of your head, even though you haven't met yet, if there will be stakeholders invited, which sectors should they be coming from?
All Ghanaians are important in managing the economy. So reps from all the stakeholder areas will be prioritized. The market women will be prioritized. Transport owners or those in the transportation sector, agri sector, trade, policy space, the media space, the NGO space, CSO space, and all those that are relevant in trying to take decisions that will drive the country forward will be considered. Political parties will be represented. So it is Ghanaian thing, and therefore that will be reflected.
Thank you very much, Professor John Gachi.
Thank you.
All right, so Professor John Gachi is a member of the National Economic Dialogue Committee. Remember, the committee is supposed to make sure that they put this together. It's supposed to give us a true state of the economy. From your perspective, what's the true state of the economy? We know that it's been part of the campaign, the electioneering, but we're where we are today, and because of how bad things have been.
So if you look generally at our economy, I mean, it's tried knowledge that we've crashed. We have crashed this economy so badly, and to the extent that if you watch the vetting, some of the ministers designate now ministers have actually told us, for instance, roads, that we've accumulated debt of about 15 billion Ghana cedis, for just this period. 8 years in government, 15 billion. What
he actually said, that's Governor Sagbaja, the roads minister.
Yes.
He said that the contracts have been given out 100 billion, and currently the tickets, the certificate that need to be paid 20 billion.
Yes.
That's what he said.
Yeah, no, but that is inclusive of what we call interest on delay payments.
Certainly.
I'm talking about the contract sum itself.
Certainly. But if you're paying, it also means you pay with the interest.
Well, maybe you can negotiate with them and see what happens. But whatever it is, so much debt has been left only in the road sector. And this is the road sector that we were told that the e-levy was being introduced because they want to take off the road toll. So the road toll was taken, e-levy was introduced. As to what quantum of that went into the paying of contractors is a mirage to all of us. You are all aware of what is happening also within the energy sector, how much money how much government is in debt over. And so there are real challenges. Some of these challenges are not just, the debt of government, but that businesses also have been crushed. A couple of businesses have left Ghana. Glovo have left Ghana. I'm told many others are following suit and all that. But with this new election and the coming into government of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, we see some level of confidence coming back. We see some people beginning to make some turnarounds in terms of investment in this country. And so we are excited that there are prospects. However, we're in a very dire strait in terms of, even banking in this country. Now, if you have foreign exchange going to account by a check, you pay 3% flat rate for the entire value. So if I have 300,000 coming to my account, you are telling me I'm paying $9,000 for no work done. For no work done. $9,000 is taken out of your account just because somebody has paid dollar into your account. So some of these nuisance, levies and charges, when it is taken off, it will create the right environment for business. You go to the ports, there are about 21 different kinds of charges and levies on just import. You buy a car, abroad for $10,000. By the time you clear it in Ghana, it's cost over $22,000. So the manufacturer of the vehicle makes less than the one who is buying. I mean, it doesn't allow for business. So I think that genuinely this project, this National Economic Dialogue project, will actually unveil, the way to go. I've seen already the gold board thing being implemented by His Excellency the President through Sami Jemfi, one of our own, at the Precious Mineral Marketing Company. I believe that some of these things would create the environment for business to strive. I've also seen some appointment to the Ghana Enterprises Agency or Authority, and the gamut of all this is that people or Ghanaians need to find their feet within this economy, and in order to do that, you need the environment to be created. Energy has to be done, done well. The technological advancements in terms of digitization, in terms of the database, in terms of having an IT base that can carry some of these services, it should suffice. We already know that as we speak, about 50% of Ghana's GDP is driven by the services sector. Now, if you want to really, develop as a country, it is not how much the services, is taken out of the GDP. It is how all the other sectors are growing. So if Agric is not growing and you are only interested in the services, what do? It means that you have to import the food product before you apply your services, which is very, worrying. We've had Ghana has been a country growing rice for many years. The Avayime rice projects, the Northern rice projects, the many others. Where have we been with all this? You talk about salt production in this country. Where have we been in all these things? So indeed, this economic dialogue is going to set the tone for us to approach many of these sectors in a more holistic manner that benefits the ordinary person, benefits the country as a whole, and indeed would help livelihoods to be improved. Now, you look at again also at the demeanor of the president in approaching some of these things. You'll understand that he wants quick growth. And quick growth means that the people will benefit from it. We've been talking about removal of taxes, betting tax, e-levy, and all the others. And people claim, so if you remove them, where are you going to get the money for? It's getting money by government only about, introducing taxes. If I work, you work, he works, everybody works, we pay taxes. So our tax base immediately increases without even increasing the tax, or introducing a new tax. So if you don't create the environment for people to work, for people to have access to finance, for people to have cheaper ways of doing business, you are just, going to be implementing taxes. Taxes over what? Because the same people who are paying the e-levy are the same people paying the direct and indirect taxes. And that's where our problem is. We've already, when VAT started, I remember it was 7.5, if I'm not mistaken. Then it went all the way to 12.5. Now we're at 15 something or whatever. It's a burden. Till today, we're still paying COVID tax. Where is the COVID? Is COVID not ended? So these are challenges that I think that this Economic Dialogue Committee will be able to unearth, the bottlenecks around our economy and our growth. Indeed, again, I want to talk about agriculture, which is extending to cocoa. Till now, we've had shortfalls in cocoa production for the past 4 years consistently. To the extent that this year, or last year, if you ask me, Cocoa Board could not go to the open market again to get their syndicated loan. And that affected largely our exchange rate. It's the reason the exchange rate went all the way to 17, 18 and all that. because you don't have enough reserves to push into the system. And all that the Bank of Ghana has been doing is to take the reserves of our foreign, exchange, put it in a system, or auction it to the bankers or to the oil marketing companies, or to the BDCs and all that. And then you deplete your foreign reserve. Immediately the city starts misbehaving. So we need a more holistic approach. If you ask me, even in the area of energy, we have just been told that ECG lost about $15 billion Ghana cedis over 1 year. 15 billion is a lot of money. That's $1 billion. How much do we owe in international, the haircut that needed us to do haircut? That's about 3 billion on all that. So indeed, there are challenges, and some of these challenges can only be unearthed when you bring all kinds of minds together: industry, academia, those in practice, those in the political space, and those in the decision-making process. So I believe that this is a way to go. It is also a way to give the Ghanaian that hope and confidence.
But we know that in finance and in managing the economy, there are key issues when it comes to expenditure. And once you rationalize that, you do the reduction in the line items and then the bulk expenditure items. It also means that you subsequently become more prudent and also increase growth.
Yes.
And of course, we have policy directives like having 60 ministers and some of those ones. But what really should be some of the key considerations in line with that, making sure we don't overspend?
Roland, this is a very critical question you've asked. And I think that the National Economic Dialogue would, in my view, should be able to make a presentation to Ghanaians and to the entire of Ghana, and to help position Ghana beyond debt and beyond IMF support. I believe that the economy of Ghana has always been on the bed of what they call the mouth to hand, hand to mouth.
Hand to mouth.
So you will notice that once there is a small shake-up, then our economy goes back to where we are. We need to be able to position the economy beyond debt and IMF. Roland, the economic dialogue should help introduce appropriate policies to ring fence and to separate statutory funds from something like the consolidated fund. The economic dialogue should be able to give us a new sense of our legal and regulatory regime on fiscal ceilings and budget deficits that we have, that would take a critical look at our gross domestic product. If indeed we are looking at the expenditure management and control, then we should be having more strict regulations. All right, they should propose stricter regulations in terms of public sector officials operating within the state-owned enterprises and all of that. And you see, when they have been able to do this, then it means we should be able to also come out with measures to deal with wastage and issues of politically influenced corruption and that of the technocrats. Most of the times, we only focus on the politicians, see that they are the only corrupt ones. But when the politician goes to take office, he does not know the connects in that ministry or in that agency. It is the technocrats who have spent 10 years, 20 years, 15, 30 years, who knows everything within the ministry or within that agency. They are those who direct how to steal the money. And so, I mean, I can't say it in a better form. They are those that direct how to steal the money. And the politician or that head who is politically placed will not be able to steal the money without the support of these technocrats. So the economic dialogue should give us these roadmaps in how to deal with it. Now, it should also come out with positive proposals on revenue optimization. Roland, I mean, as my brother said, there are a lot of nuisance taxes in the system. But even with that, when we collect them, how much do we optimize those revenues? I mean, the Minister for Finance says that so roads and I mean they all meet the same statement: the reintroduction of our road tolls. I've been for it. I sat here with you and I said it when GDM took over as president. I said that there is a need for us to bring back our road tolls, and whoever made us suspend the collection of our road tolls should face the law for causing financial loss to the state. I have stated it already. But when we have collected those monies, I think there is the need for the economic dialogue team to be able to direct as to how to ring fence all of these revenues so that we can optimize the usage of it. Because there are a lot of times that you do not know how much is even collected as revenue. If you looked at yesterday's dailies graphic on the front page, I think that they did a review of a 10-year collection, yes, by the Auditor General. And can you imagine?
Is it collection or expenditure?
No, it had to do with collection. I mean, the revenues that they were talking about corruption, and so the Auditor General was talking about the fact that the operational monies is more than the monies collected. But can you imagine that you would have district assemblies, MMDAs, go to collect in excess of 3 million Ghana cedis, but spend in excess of 7 million Ghana cedis in the operational activities for the collection of that revenue? I mean,
that's problematic.
That is, and I wonder who those managers of the MMDAs are. If I were Auditor General, I would recommend. I've not read his report. I don't know what went into the recommendation, but I would recommend that those people should be put behind the bars. So it means that government even spent extra money in collecting less. What happens to the introduction of technology? What happens to monitoring and evaluation? What went into it? All of these things should be dealt with. The taxes and duties at our ports. If we need to have traffic in there for us to get more revenue, it means that we need to be able to put in measures to lower these taxes and these duties. And in lowering them, it means we are bringing in more. Now, Roland, we cannot have an economic growth in this dispensation without the government not focusing on industrialization. And you cannot have industrialization without agriculture. They move hand in hand because you need the raw materials to feed into your industry. And if you are focusing or going to push an industrialization agenda, it means as a government you should be ready to discipline your spending in that regard. It's just not going to take us a year for us to actualize these visions or objectives. It's going to take us more, but that should be a prime focus. Industrialization is the way to go. Industrialization is what is going to give us job creation. The services industry, how many jobs do they create? You understand? How many jobs do they create? But if you have an industrialized economy, there'll be a lot of job creation. I mean, Trump of the United States, if you listen to his Dover speech that he just gave, Roland, excellent one. He's saying that, listen, come into my country. Come and build your factories here. Come and set up your factories here. One, I am going to give you the best of taxes, all right? And you're going to have access to the market. This is something the economic dialogue should come out for us to help preach to our investors. We should be able to give that level of confidence that come into our country, put up the industries. We are going to set up our agriculture, that we are going to have our raw materials to feed those industries for you. Come into our country, we are going to put in measures to stabilize and improve our energy sector. Come into our country, we have what it takes to give you absolute security. And this is what these investors are looking out for. They are not looking at an economy where you bring your money into the country, tomorrow they are going to give you Sakura card. No.
Well, certainly. If you take a look at our budget items annually, we have some recurrent expenditure. Apart from wages, salaries, etc., and then also statutory payments. Now we've added more over the last couple of years, if not the last 7, 8 years. The free SHS is a big expenditure item. What we haven't been able to find is a credible source of funding. And that is a big policy that funding sources would have to be looked out for. Now, we also have the president and the government now saying that in order to fuel growth, increase astronomically growth so that we're able to match that expenditure by way of what we generate, we need to be working around the clock, so 24/7. How do we make sure that we do that whilst lowering the expenditure within these objectives? A credible source for the recurrent expenditure items.
Yeah, so ideally, free SHS should not be going through this kind of challenge. When we said that we were going to review the free SHS program, what we were told was that we wanted to cancel it. Indeed, we have explained on several occasions that review does not mean cancel. Review, one, could be to eliminate waste, and that is a big one. Eliminate waste, because you have seen in recent times some rice going expired or having expired. Obviously, it's money lost. People are only talking about how that the rice is expired, but it's money lost. 2, procurement breaches within school feeding, or the other one, National Buffer Store Company, and all the others. And I'm only using free SHS as an example. Even though it's a fixed expenditure item which cannot change, you definitely will have to spend that money. Government has just released some 200 million to the school feeding program so they can be able to supply foodstuff for the reopening of the schools. These are expenditures you would always make and you cannot run away from. However, there can be systems put in place to streamline waste, number 1. 2, not just streamlining the waste, but targeting. And I have always advocated that government, indeed, in implementing free SHS, lost track of the fact that the whole idea of anything free is to help those who really need it, and not everybody. However, the implementation has been that we go full blast, everybody, whether rich, whether poor, whether mid-range, whatever it is, everybody gets it. And I'm all for that everybody gets it. But I think we have come to a point where some parents are even saying they are willing to pay. I'm not going to be the one to bring a breaking news over that matter. But that will be decided by the educational team working around that matter. Now, how do we bring back, say, the PTAs? Because in the past, the PTAs have been very instrumental in developing the various schools that we have. There have also been conversations about, do we hand over the schools back to the missions? When we were in school, the missions were somewhat semi-in control. Well, I went to Presec Legon, and I remember very well how the Presbyterian Church was very much involved in the school maintenance and the school running and all that. Should we go back to that state where some of these schools are handed over to the missions to run again? Because they are better managers of these schools than government has done in the last 30 years, if you ask me. Do we do that? Should we not do it? How effective can that be? And then we are talking about public-private participation. Is it the case that we can hand over these schools with a model that allows the owners, the original owners, which were the missions, the Catholics, the Presbyterians, the Methodists, and all that? And almost all the big schools you have in the secondary school environment right now are all schools that were initiated and started by the missions. And I am for the fact that you need to re-engage some of these people on how they did it in the past. How did they do it? They were using it as centers to train leaders, their next generation leaders for the churches. And they paid attention, so much attention to morality, to education, to the full development of the child, the girl child or the boy child, if you call it. We have lost track of that as a government. What government has been doing in the past years is to buy, we have gotten to a point where we are even buying, what's the name? Past questions for students to pass. You also recall that now Ghana does not belong to the committee of WAEC that writes exams at a certain point, where
But we still belong to WAEC.
As for WAEC is just an examining body. But as to whether we are in sync with the other countries like
okay, so that's not. But we're trying to bring that back.
Because
I don't want us to create no, but we shouldn't create the perception that we're not part of WAEC.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
So what's your point?
My point is that the tradition has always been that all schools within the West Africa, the Anglophone schools within the West African region write exam at a certain time. That was necessary because all the universities, from secondary school to the universities, were doing the admissions around the same time. So it was easy to take your child to school in a different country or in a different region and all that. And that the exams were standardized to the extent that we were able to tell that, okay, somebody from SHS in say, Nigeria can have competition with somebody with SHS in Ghana. Now, I don't think that is the situation because we are writing our own, at certain times different. We think we should go back, standardize education, and then we can be able to eliminate the losses in the system. That goes for almost all the sectors. If you are talking about cocoa, you are talking about rice, you are talking about all the other issues within the sector. If we can eliminate some of these waste, we can be making headways. And you will see that the last, what's the name? Controlling Accountant General's Department, the Auditor General's Department report shows how much losses we have made in terms. It was 12 billion in the last report in 2024, and that's scary. 20 billion. How much do you need of free SHS per year? It's only about 600 million.
2023.
Yeah. So it's scary the level of waste in the system. So you collect all the taxes, you implement all the new taxes, you collect them, and you waste them. That's not prudent management.
Okay.
And so I think that if we're able to rationalize some of these things very well, we can be making some headway
find
some.
Nana Yosapon, how do we find credible sources and then consistent sources also for some of these recurrent expenditures? And we know key among the statutory, and then also for when it comes to education. Now, we've always had, is it since the Kufuor administration, we've had the YEA, whether it's from JIDA or wherever, it's a consistent money drainer. Well, we don't.
I do not see it as a money drainer.
Okay. It's a consistent or a recurrent expenditure that we tend to.
What they need to do is to sit down and have a proper strategic plan and to refocus on what exactly YEA wants to achieve. Now, is YEA interested in establishing permanent jobs for people? Is YEA interested in establishing entrepreneurs that have the potential to grow and to also mentor other small and medium enterprises and grow them along? What is the plan to synchronize or dragging along smaller enterprises created by YEA by bigger enterprises within the same field, you understand, or business avenue? So this is something that we need to be able to help the young man to be able to come up with if they indeed want YEA to be seen very active. But you see, if you read our Great Transformational Plan on the page 16, which talks about the expenditure management control, there is something interesting here. It says that we should develop a system to ensure that at least 50% of statutory funds is spent on government priority and transformational projects, and strengthen reporting on the application and use of such funds to avoid misapplication. This is something that we need to be able to look at. Now, if you read further, it says that eliminate sole sourcing in public procurement and contracting to ensure value for money and avoid collusion in the award of contracts. Now, this is a major illness when it comes to the Procurement Act. We should have that political boldness to eliminate sole sourcing. how important is a diary? Roland, how urgent is the need for a diary that BOG would contract diary, the supply of diary on sole source? Yeah.
I don't understand. Are you saying that every sole sourcing is money thrown away?
Of course. You see, you only do sole sourcing. Hold on. You only do sole sourcing when there is a need.
I don't understand what's in the act. Yes.
When there is an agent need, all right, or when it is a specialized item that you barely would find people or suppliers or contractors being able to deal with. I think that is where you but diary. And you'd have and you see, when it happens, you are not able to know the competitive price on the market because sole sourcing is limited. So whichever amount or quotation the person brings, you go for it because you're not open to the system. We should have that political boldness to be able to deal away with that. And you see, I earlier mentioned about the ring fencing of some of these monies collected, and it's actually in the Great Transformation. It says, introduce appropriate policies to ring fence and separate statutory funds from the consolidated fund. Clear cut. Because we are looking for sustainable sources of funding for some of these policies. As for the FSHS, it has come to stay. Roland, one of the key challenges it has to do with infrastructure and feeding. When I was in Tamale Secondary School, Tamasco, I mean, the best school, I mean, you can argue in your head. But when I was in Tamale Secondary, we had a school farm. We had a school farm. And this school farm...
About Tamasco?
Yes. Okay. This school farm used to produce or give the school a lot of maize.
As part of augmenting
the supplies
the supply or the purchase. Okay.
Because, you know,
I think many schools had it back then.
Our time, we had the Northern Scholarship. And so those who had the Northern names were from the Northern. I remember most of my classmates had a lot of Northern names. When we finished, they've all changed their names. Hey, Abreu. But we paid. Because you cannot change. If you look at my face and my tonation, you know I can't. Now, we had this very big school farm that the headmaster then, he became ambassador to Burkina Faso, Bolina Saka. Now, he invested in this farm. We would harvest lots of bags of maize, lots of tomatoes, all right? And then we would supply the school pantry with it. And they would use it to cook for us. They would keep it until we are not able to get supplies. When other schools were struggling with food, we always had food. Why are we not able to bring back these school farms? Buffer stock should be the last resort. You understand? When we are so much in that need that we cannot find it anywhere, then we would come to buffer stock to come and tell them that they should give us some produce. But what do we have? Almost all those school farms are collapsed. The lands have been sold very cheap to persons in high places and in authority and in power. Are we able to reclaim and bring back that level of patriotism? And that was even an avenue to make our young ones develop interest in farming. I developed interest in agriculture when I was in as much as I was an agric student. You understand? It helped us develop interest in some of these things. So I think there is a lot that this national economic dialogue can come up with if they open their doors and accept, not just accepting, but appreciate indeed the suggestions that will be given to them. They should not just listen to ideas that sing songs of interest in their ears, but they should be available to accept ideas and suggestions that are of a nationalistic view that would have a positive impact on our economy.
Dr. Salifu Combat, I think he's a Damascus. I should ask you which year you left.
Oh, nada.
No, I'll say he left in 93.
He left in 93. That's my sister's back.
Okay,
I think that is that of Muntaka and the rest. I can tell I'm a young man. You should stop that.
Dr. Salifu Combat, you being senior, I beg you.
He'll be old man. He'll be old man.
All right. What we're going to do is to take you to the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, because there's a petition that is before the office of the president, and that petition inherent in there is a petitioner who is arguing that he wants Madam Jean Mensah as well as some of her deputies and directors removed from office. All right, so we'll go to Safwa and get the latest from there. But Professor Bokpin is joining us just shortly before we wrap up on this subject with the University of Ghana Business School. Good morning to you, Professor Bokpin. I hope you're well. Okay. Very good. So when we're able to align with the stream of Professor Bokpin, then we'll get the latest from him. Well, now let's go to Safwa. And Safwa, what can you tell us? What are people saying about this petition to remove Madam Jean Mensah and her deputies and director?
So it has been a little over a month after the December 7 polls in December, of course, and after that, there has been some notable events that have happened over the time, not forgetting the memorable swearing in of the new government, to talk about the collation and recollation of some constituencies across the country. And even as at now, Nablekuma North constituency has still not yet been decided. And just recently, the NDC parliamentary candidate for Tema Central, Ibi Bright, has also petitioned the Supreme Court against Charles Forson at Tema Central. So this has actually raised a lot of concerns for the ordinary Ghanaians about the transparency and the credibility of the Electoral Commission and the officials there. Well, there has been a petition sent to the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, for the removal of these EC officials. And today we are at Circle New Plant Station to find out from the populace their thoughts on that, to gauge some reactions and then see if that is what is supposed to be done or they have other opinions about it. So I am here with a young gentleman, and now you're not young.
Yeah, well,
okay, please, we didn't the same.
But your friend, Prince.
Bekechi. Okay. What do you think about the EC's removal?
But your mangana and Anna Page, yeah, penny for any Oman, Nipa, a woman, the Radias, affairs of Marpebiachi. You become a crowd for EC. But you can say, yes, in the Yunus on your Bonivia. Intino, Adia Bebo, mine, and I see a since your papa after the giants, basis of Santa Wantawan, say about 2 billion and Persuasubi, and Tawantawaka crescent the ETS, and your friend Babisi. It is an NNSia. And Manu Quavis as some ameno. It is a middle Mimus, many my drinks, the Musa Mamma, and Redia, and we are some ameno. Name woman for no, Nayan, the Radibanam, so. Not the papa be free no beba. Since yes, I bet some ameno. Yabasi Sanako funny power friends, Sika Korea, Sika Samus Sababam, if no knows your part for us, I come on also that coin and tutu. Timilia Kama drinks them qua dia came from Amena. Every since Yabapa for the giant. Anna Gani Yan found the Ebesi Samreno, and Tawantawano, a 2 baby constituency Bua, and Tawantawasim. And your mammy so and Ebashasi, and take a young farmer and I send a bear or Manisi Kasem, Ebejina Nesita. Yeah.
Okay, so Prince has been telling us that, I mean, since time immemorial, whenever we have elections, there has been some issues and banter at various constituencies, and it's not just this last year's election that brought that. So from his side, he believes that we should maintain Jean Mensah and the other EC officials, because he believes it's going to be a total waste of money and time if we should change over to another person. Let me still get some other persons to see what they think about it. Okay, my mention is if you
Pacho Mede or Bain. Miss Margin Jenny said, easy boss now, Mamma Sunday, a wound here. So you be a cosness and queer, as something for for solution to Sir, I didn't see you. Now, no, my minute now on no arrangement because some I'm going about Bayano, who said a boy, I'm a zeno. Sabato do not be a cotraba, who do my Utum to a bantam, what to call your Juma. What could I be any one? Put station I am more. I'm a zeno, or be a want you about to you. And the yes, I was an idea. Yaman and Town, say, be now queer. And being for my or friend or Tassin, or Moncasa, a command to a
during elections, and Uncle Fonso, especially NDC for no Mocase, easy no more bias, non person money, MPP for Neshe, BB no more SSA, a Abatuano, and also General.
I know there, Mimi say, and yes, Anette, Mimi say, position party be as an otier. Position party be as an otier, or per se, or can be. No, what do you know? Easy no. And Sana, we I'm going to position the MPP or almost by and the position Biano, Uncas and Pampa, easy and sanity.
Okay, so he has also been telling us that it's not necessary for them to change Jane Mensah and her entourage because she has done a great work, especially regarding the processes behind the whole elections. You are able to go in there on time and vote and come back, and nothing really happened from his perspective. So he believes that there is no time, it will be a total waste of time to change Jane Mensah. My member also oh, okay, Pacho, I'm by young found so wajenche wo free say e wo say yesesa EC no officials ni nyina ana say unso free say hu hia
oh hu hia na de metimi aka ne say ka omontena so mitusu ya pacho wo mitiri mu
no ba dentina wo dwensa
oh dentina me dwensa no sa aban sesa ni almost sa almost and the hey ne ade beba oman no munti kwamo transfer anka bebo ayen
so what the stability na wo share patrodi
FM Kwame Frimpong.
Okay, so from hearing from Kwame Frimpong, he also believes that it is imperative for Jane Mensah and the rest of the EC officials to be maintained because it brings some sort of instability whenever the EC is changed, whenever there is a new government. I will still take one person's reaction and then we can move away from that. Yeah, boss Pacho, good morning. Pacho Dean.
Prince.
Prince, Pacho also Adinchen is saying Nanuyana President Mahama Inya petition say only EC no officials ni nyina emfree so wo dwen say
oh me de no ho hia eso madada na house me hu boni bia o maye ni hu problem bia yisi adwuma wo ye na ye correct nti ko yina ho hia say ko yina nti de hia say o ye maye na so wo ye de na hia ai Ghana for say o de nti am ye to abama no aho kire ne ne ma na ye fam no hia no ene so ye maye na yisi de me hu ye adwuma bia boni bia o ya o so be yina free so tesa o boy said that driver for e ba ho kire ne petrol seminar ni no ene de pesa o ba no boy na o be yisa petrol seminar ne ye ne man ba for maye na yeso ye hotoye ye adwuma so yeska na o de ko fa yisi mi bibia wa ya adwuma wa ye na ye to aba correct mi hu bia.
All right, so he has also been telling us that he doesn't see any reason why the EC should be changed because, I mean, they've done some great work during the elections. We all encountered and saw what they have done. He is rather looking forward to the government doing something about the petrol issues, the fuel issues in the country. Let me also pick just one more person. Pacho Woody.
Pacho, your friend is Suma, and I say CS Nyame.
Yo, CS Nyame, so I didn't try to say.
My being trying to say, ECDA, come and pay no about Kran, so come in 1 hour crowd office. Because we Jano Quintentem. Senye nyame na year oman ya dum 2020 anke jakesi oman to Ghana ha no no anke bi ni ho because enam se Ghana for ya ware ye ho afrafra ntino ene ma obi abufuo ye dey e ba fom but men tre wiase so wo ye nya atwom aka se de wo ye na ye me kwakoye me passport me the birth cert na koy na me kwakoye register the birth cert de nya adwuma I'm a patch me the Oda Catasua and also Empeduaso.
It's Mujin said also Muji.
What's 1 hour per penny watch 1 year? Or think of 1 hour per crowd, Jan Quamanuko. Now you're going to hear Sumuji. Apostle enemy sira den kan e man kurumudie o je CS ni bia wa kukudu o be kan no cry dey achire obi a ablabo no
but you didn't bio
your from Esuma na say CS nyame.
Yo, so I just spoke to Esuman, and from Esuman's perspective, he thinks that the president shouldn't have even waited for an hour to remove the EC officials because he does not see the reason why they should be there, and all the sufferings that is going on in the countries as a result of that, from what he is saying. And so that is what people are saying, but the majority of them are saying here that there is no reason why they should take out the EC or remove them. But from Esuman, he is having a varied opinion that they should remove the EC officials and then bring in new blood for us to also see what will happen in the coming years of elections. Safo Abuahine, TV3 News. Over to you, Roland.
Esuman. CS Nyame. But these are the reasons why the petitioner wants Madam Jane Mensah, Bossman Asare, the other deputies and a director removed. We'll put that on the screen for you shortly. And then I get a single comment from each of you before we go. Breach of human rights in relation to SAL, abuse of discretionary power, bias, among many others as well. And the petition in itself, you go to 3news.com, you get it in its entirety, and then get to do a lot of perusal of the story we've done. 3news.com, make sure you're there. And Wanda Madilo, necessary or not necessary? We're continuing on the precedents because it was set in the case of Madam Charlotte Say. Is that the case?
Very difficult position you want to put me in.
I don't want to put you in a position. The gentleman is raising among others.
I'm careful what I say because.
No, you don't have to be careful. I'm saying, and then I'll ask the question. Perhaps you didn't understand my question.
Okay.
Even the NDC, they've had considerable concerns about how Madam Jane Mensah, relatedly other deputies and directors of the commission, have undertaken their work, whether it's from the time they were in office, the procurement issues about why we need to have a new system in place, the registration prior to 2020, the organization of the by-election in Ayawaso West Wogon, which resulted in that violence and the maiming of people. Yeah. Considerably also other by-elections that have been organized, pronouncements by Madam Jane Mensah, and from the last elections as well. Indeed, even currently, we still have a number or two constituencies not even resolved. Even the final collated result of the presidential election, we still don't know in many instances. I can make those considered views.
Yeah, so is the reason I'm a bit careful. Why am I careful?
Because you're not the petitioner?
Yeah, because I'm
Wanda Madilo?
No, I'm not a petitioner. However, I do concede that almost all the things that were listed in their petition is true. I mean, the question of SAR, we've been saddened by their decision not to go ahead, even when the Supreme Court had made pronouncements in that respect. For 4 years on the bounce, the Electoral Commission made no effort in going to SAR to salvage the situation. And I think that is a huge constitutional blunder that will be investigated and appropriate sanctions meted out. On the issue of violence of our elections, yes, we do consider there's still considerable violence because of the posturing of members of the Electoral Commission, including Jane Mensah herself. We have seen some commentary in our direction as a party that we were a risk or a danger to Ghana's democracy or whatever, if you want to recall it. But in the gamut of all these issues is the fact that there would be some level of investigation to establish some prima facie basis for which she has to be removed. And so indeed, if she has to be removed based on findings of a committee appropriately so put together, why not? I mean, our laws have to work, and they have to work irrespective of whose us is God. And so I do not have a problem with that. Why I said you were putting me in a difficult situation was that we are not yet privy to the details that will be unearthed by the committee to investigate the matter, and what the decisions will be, we cannot preempt at the moment. But indeed, many of the things that were listed in the petition are valid points, and we are all witnesses to all these valid points. The issue about Ayawaso West Ogun violence, I think largely was dealt with the Commission of Inquiry, whose report has not been implemented by the outgone president. How the current president would deal with that, I think that he has very capable hands in that respect. The Attorney General's Department will advise properly and will bring closure to this issue. If you observe, the President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, has just charged the IGP to investigate or to bring to bear findings around all election-related violence that we've experienced over the period. So, indeed, we are expecting that to happen.
There are processes, of course. The president would make those considerations before it is.
Roland, you know my standpoint on this.
I don't know your standpoint. What's your standpoint?
After the elections, I made it clear. I said that the three of them do not have the moral right to be seated there. If I were them, I would honorably resign. Okay, now I have had the opportunity to be attending those times when we were, that was last year, because my boss was contesting as an independent candidate. I had a working relationship as part of the 13 presidential candidates. And I think that from where I sit and from the understanding I got from how they work, I do not think that they should be there. And so my stance have always been very clear. And they are not the only people who should not be there. I think I made it very clear that, I mean, if the president was going to trigger and shake up certain persons also from our judicial system, it's also going to help us a lot to moving forward. So my stand, these are my personal stands. I mean, these are not stands of the movement for change. This is my personal opinion and my stance. So I've been very clear on that. But Roland, in moving forward, I mean, this is very clear. So the president should trigger it. I would want to wish Joe Beduansa, Honorable Joe Beduansa, a happy birthday. Former MP for Kwesimintim and former trade minister, has been a very kind father to most of us, and these are some of the individuals who should have been holding my former party, but unfortunately they were all sidelined, and so I wish him all the best. I don't know if he's in town, but if he is, it means that today I would have to see him. And Roland, there was another topic that had to do with the privatization of the ECG. I know that time is up, and
the time is
have
up
to move on.
But you wanted
in whichever framework that they are coming up with, Roland, I know that the challenges ECG has faced has to do with financial losses, has to do with operational inefficiencies, it has to do with infrastructural deficiencies. But whichever framework that they are coming up with, I personally am in for some aspect of the privatization. And these framework or whatever they are coming up with should avoid or try to avoid job losses. It should try to avoid dependency on foreigners, and it should also try to avoid that absolute takeover by the private sector, at least for the purposes or the reasons of national security. These three items, they should be able to avoid it, and I think that when we are able to avoid all of these, we would have a very good framework to present to Ghanaians. I mean, ECG is in depth. Everybody knows. ECG needs capital injection. Everybody knows. ECG needs infrastructural increase. Everybody knows. ECG needs the human resource development to be able to push in. And I think that if we are looking at it from those angles, we should be able to, the committee should come up with a very good framework for Ghana. Fantastic contribution there by Nana Yao Sapong, and thank you very much for passing through the studio, also helping us do the discussions this morning. And Wanda Madilo, I wish you all the best for the day. I actually love your suits.
Oh, thank you.
Just in case you have, just send me the number of your designer house, okay? All right, we also get to have a number of your views as well before we tell you about cash out, why you need to cash out. And this one is coming from Money, and who is saying that when it comes to all the things that are needed, we are not utilizing our resources properly. Why can't we use one resource to cater for one sector of our economy, like we use oil revenue for education, etc.? And then also we have other considered views as well. Oscar Mensah, thank you for sharing your thoughts as well. We have a message that says she must tell the citizens the reasons why the petitioners are asking for the removal of the EC leadership. And I guess you're making a contribution towards our solicitation of the views of the Kwame Nkrumah Circle. And then we have others as well. This one is coming from the Kalio Manwa. Please, does the EC chairperson have the military men as a guide? I'll have to find out. Kalio Manwa, good morning to you. I wish you all the best for the day as well. And all those who have sent us comments, please, I have emailed Nasara, all of you on our stream as well. We're grateful. But more important, let me say good morning to a number of you. Osei Kwame Bonsu in Kumasi, as well as all those who are in the Savings Hotel in the Volta Regional Capital, particularly Bless Atopli. I wish you all the best for the day as well. And all those, and we'll have some grade as well. Let's do some draws, cash out. Oh,
says you.
Uncle Joe.
He just said
I used to be his colonial boy. Yeah, Joe Bedouansa, great parliamentarian, I have to say. Also with the trade ministry at the time. Great man, I have to say. Uncle, Michelle, aye.
So
now we have to cash out.
You wanting to go give to him?
No problem at all.
Okay.
Star 439 hash is the short code. Try as many times as you can to increase the number of tickets. Choose option 2 first. You dial and then you get the prompt. But this is the first draw. We're giving 1,000 Ghana cedis to the number 0546761 counting. We're going to call that person, that lucky winner, as many times as we can. Please make sure that when you do, are we going to do another one? We should take a break. We'll do another one quickly. 1,000 Ghana cedis. So 2,000 Ghana cedis given out quickly as possible. And Richmond Sechi of the Whole Technical University. I wish all the best for the day as well. Great guy, Richmond Sechi. The number 0249975 is also winning 1,000 Ghana cedis, 2,000 Ghana cedis. Give it out, and I tell you, where else can you get it except right here on TV3 New Day and all those who are loyal viewers. We're taking a break. When we come out, we'll be telling you why you need to stick and stay. The vetting continues with the Appointments Committee of Parliament. We have a number of them who will be vetted, including the nominee for the Greater Accra Regional Minister and Linda Oklu, among many of them. We'll tell you all of them after the break.
Crown Paint.